taking him back to Nevada where he's wanted for banging horses. I'm just dandy. I got a bowl of chocolate pudding in my underpants. I didn't say mud, I said crud. You fall into some crud or something?
The big, fat, sloppy United States.
My superpower's being honest. I will eat my neighbors.
What in the hell was that all about?
Hey, you got a little chubby going there.
All right, what's happening, guys? How are you? Welcome back to the Blunt Politics Podcast for the second time today. I appreciate you joining me. Make sure you hit that like button on the way in. Lots of stuff to cover. We got vigils going on. We got protests of politicians that, voted to give ICE even more funding. We'll be talking about Donald Trump threatening attacks on Iran now, FBI raids on election stations in Georgia for the 2020 election bullshit that we're still having to deal with for some reason. Ken Klippenstein has given us some insight into some dissension among the ranks in ICE. Apparently, he was talking to some anonymous figures behind the scenes who gave him some insight into at least some of the Border Patrol and ICE agents that don't quite agree with what's going on. So we'll be taking a look at that. We'll be taking a look at, I don't know if you know the Legal Eagle, but he's a lawyer that does work on YouTube, kind of just, does cases that people are talking about, gives his little, piece on it and his professionalism on it. He actually broke down in more ways than one, I have to say, and that's not a dig at him because it got to most of us, about the Alex Preddy assassination, the execution that we talked about. So we'll be diving into a little bit of that. We also have, we also have some not so good news for Russia. Apparently, a couple of their attacks failed miserably, thus leaving the fields of Ukraine a lot more fertilized, let's just say. So we'll be diving into a lot more of that as well. What do you say we bring in the chat for a second here and say hi to everybody? Appreciate you guys. Thank you first and foremost to the mods. Very much appreciated for you guys keeping that chat a safe place for everybody. There you are. What's up, guys? What's going on, Carl? How are you, brother? What's going on, Rox? What's going on, Karen? Appreciate you. What's going on, everybody else? What's up, Jenny Faye? What's up, Tiff, Tanya? How are you guys? What's up, Yvonne? How are you, dear? What's going on, Ian? I see you over there on Facebook. What's up, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram? Hit that like button on the way, and I do appreciate you guys. What's up, Dame? What's up, Gamer? Dyslexic Fingers, what's going on? What's up, Laney? How are you? Appreciate you guys. Make sure everybody's hitting that like button. Again, multitude of ways that you can contribute to the show. I get that out of the way typically in the beginning of the show because I don't like doing it much myself. But there's a Venmo up here in the corner you can take a picture of, send $1 or $2. I don't ask for any more than that. Anything above that is totally 100% up to you. You can sign up for a YouTube membership just underneath me. You can sign up at patreon.com/BostonBrian. There are 3 different levels on there. If any one of them fit you, fit your needs, fit your habits, fit your availability as far as finances is concerned, please thinking about signing up. We do this, with the help of you guys. Nothing is coming from ads or corporate backers or sponsors or anything hidden behind a paywall. We don't charge for the Substack. We don't charge for anything. You can see all of my content for free, no matter where it's put out. So basically the only way we stay running is with the help and generosity of you guys. So I appreciate it. And once again, thank you to the mods. All right, let's dive into, because I know this is taking place right now. I don't want to miss too much of it. A vigil going on for Alex Preddy. See if I can put this on the screen. And I do believe that I may have figured out what's going on with the audio at the end of the show. I think it's because of the way that I'm sharing the screen, but we'll deal with that later. You guys can tell me if I hit the nail on the head with that one or not. But yeah, let's dive into a little bit of the status quo coverage of the Alex Preddy vigil going on right now. I just figure it's something that everybody should be aware of, should be looking at, and I'm sure there's been some poignant statements made here on camera by the people on scene. So what do you say we dive into a little bit here?
Columbia, so I've been marching every night. I've been hanging out with my friends here on TikTok every night. I got banned for 7 days for saying some stupid stuff. Well, I didn't even say it. But yeah. So I am streaming, showing the world, the community and how we come together. And I mean, this is incredible. How
many people would you say are here? 1,200?
Way more than that.
Way more than that.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't know how far it goes that way. Sorry.
Thank you, Kimberly. I appreciate you. Thank you for the Venmo. I saw that come through. Thank you, Slacks, over here on YouTube. Thank you very much, guys. I do appreciate you kicking off the show in the right way. 10 from Bobby Slacks. Thank you, brother. Slava Ukraini, Heroyam Slava. Right back to you. Love to all the fellow Bryantologists. I'm listening as I share, so thank you in advance for your kind greetings. Appreciate you, Bobby Slacks. Appreciate you, Kimberly, on Venmo as well. Let's dive back into it. And again, I'm not going to lie. I do believe that I could recognize when somebody has had a few pops before they got on camera, and that is totally fine as you are, of legal age and an adult, and that is your fucking right. So God bless this kid for getting out there and being at the vigil and having a few fucking, got to keep that blood thin a little bit. You got to stay warm somehow. And, that's a fine way to do it. Not necessarily per science wise, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I don't know how far it goes. Yeah.
Say hello to Status Quo.
Hey, Status Quo. Yeah, nice to formally meet you.
I actually want to ask you about TikTok real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a situation.
TikTok
this is becoming very political.
Sure.
Yeah, there is a situation. This is not surprising.
Am I lying though? There's just no denying this kid's had a fucking couple sips of the old. He's got a flask working in the pocket somewhere.
To me, I believe that the reason Elon Musk bought Twitter was because, again, this is a way to control media, right? You've already seen the billionaire.
Go back just about a couple minutes because they did have a speaker speaking that was, sounded like he had some pretty poignant things to say. Let me see if we can go back. Yeah, here he is right here. So just a little bit of this. This is just about 10, 15 minutes ago on this live stream.
In the city of Minneapolis, due to negligence on behalf of ICE agents, in the United States, we are losing more citizens getting caught in the wash and being harmed in order to remove immigrants from the country.
Shame! Shame!
We are standing up for our neighbors who are being harassed by ICE agents. It says, love thy neighbor. So when you see injustice happening, it's our right and it's our duty to speak up. We're all speaking up right now by bringing your bodies into the mix. Say his name. Say his name. Say his name. This is no political stunt for the crowd of the masses to be out here. We are all out here for a reason. This gentleman who is a nurse, who is taking care of thousands and thousands and thousands of people, had his life cut short due to the negligence of ICE agents. We need ICE out of the state of Minnesota immediately. We will no longer sit by and be quiet and just take it. We know that is what is happening to people of color that are citizens in the United States of America being harassed by ICE agents. These are facts. And we're all Americans. White, black, brown, pick a color.
No more!
Every single person out here deserves a round of applause for yourselves. This is what it looks like when you stand up, come out as a protester, maybe by yourself, not knowing what you might be confronted with, the dangers, leaving your families at home, them kissing you, them loving on you before you walk out of that door, because you never know what might happen because these ICE agents are so reckless. And all we want to do is have a simple ceremony peacefully and show love to each other. This is our right. We want ICE out now. ICE out! 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 Bring us to the table. This is a national problem. And we got real community leaders that need
Look at the crowd, huh? So I just wanted to dip into that celebration of life, the vigil being held for Alex Preddy there on the streets of Minneapolis. I wanted to make sure that we do our due diligence and give it the respect it deserves. Obviously, in a time like this, it's good to see communities come together and show their respects and pay their respects for their lost comrade. You know what I mean? So in a time where there's so much chaos and hate going on right now, to see a little sign of love even from such a tragic event is a W in the book of the resistance in my eyes. So just wanted to dive into that a little bit. If this is still going on and still taking place throughout the show, we can dive back into it. But Status Quo doing a great job of covering this as usual. So big shout out to them. But that's not the only form of protest taking place. This was something that really resonated with me because Tom Suozzi, being one of the 7 Democrats who basically was one of the deciding votes to give ICE an increase in funding, kind of was at the mercy of a well-orchestrated protest, if I do say so myself, by Walter Masterson and others. I'll play this now, and this was Tom Suozzi apparently speaking at, I don't know if it was a mosque. I believe it was a mosque. Forgive me if I'm wrong. Seems to be a mosque from what I saw. But he was put through the ringer as he should be, and it was not only just Walter, but a whole host of people that were named here. David's I'm not sure, David's son Boswell. I'm not sure if it's Davidson Boswell or what that is. I'm sure, but these are the tags here if you're looking for them or the other people involved. But let me see if I can get it from the beginning because Instagram kind of sucks. It loves to pick it up from the middle of things, but let me see if I can throw this on the screen. Make this a little bigger. How do I go to the post? Yeah, I'll go to the post. We'll start it over. Here we go.
Killed my eyes this month, and you're throwing me out while I'm reading their names? How fucking dare you?
All right, so here's where it starts. This is Tom Suozzi, Democrat out of New York, speaking at some event here, and this is what happens while he's speaking at the event.
Tom Suozzi, I know you voted to increase ICE funding, so I wanted to get something for you. This is an adult diaper for when you feed yourself. You're the type of leader we need right now. Someone who soils themselves with ashes.
I didn't know we were doing gifts up top. I actually also have some gifts. I have some knee pads for you. You can use these while you blow Donald Trump.
I just would like to say really quick, as a Jewish man, I have never felt safer than when there is a masked Gestapo in the street.
Tell you made a mistake. Tell Alex Preddy you made a mistake in expanding funding of ICE after Renee Good had already been shot in the streets.
Nobody could have predicted that ICE would have been killing innocent people. The only way we can fight anti-Semitism is by aligning ourselves with white supremacists.
Alex Preddy, Renee Good, Keith Porter. I'm reading names of people killed by ICE. And you're going to touch me? You're going to touch me? Alex Preddy, Renee Good, Keith Porter, Barry Law. These people were killed by ICE this month. You're going to throw me out? These people, 9 people were killed by ICE this month. And you're throwing me out while I'm reading their names? How fucking dare you?
Thank you.
Love to see it. Love to fucking see it. I mean, as a an active member of the resistance myself, I mean, this is the type of demonstrations. These are the type of actions that we need to not only raise awareness to get the fucking clips out like this, but also to put the fucking pressure on these cocksuckers to do the right thing and to stop fucking going against the wishes of the same people that voted them in office in the first place. Right. So it's a fucking twofold. We're killing 2 birds with 1 stone at the same time here. So well done to Walter Masterson, whatever you think about him or the work that he does. And well done to everybody else that contributed and helped in that, because, they hit him with a bunch of different fucking angles. They hit him with, the kind of the comedy type, they hit him with the fucking try to shame him. And then they hit him with the fucking names of the people that he just fucking, voted to give more funding to that were killing these people. Right. So they kind of hit him at all angles. They didn't fucking make it easy for the guy guy, nor should they have a moment of fucking rest or a moment of peace from now until fucking eternity for doing that to this country. So well done to them. Big up to them. And if you're not following Walter and all those people, I would definitely advise you to do so. But yeah, this goes on too, because it gets even fucking crazier. As good as it is to see, the community coming together for Alex Peretti, and as good as it is to see, Walter Masterson and these people raising fucking, good hell, good trouble, where good trouble is supposed to be raised, we still have to deal with asinine and insanity like this. Like, it's just incredible that this is something that we even have to think about at this point. This was just put out a little while ago by Aaron Parnes. And he's talking about how Trump is weighing a massive strike on Iran. I know it's been talked about. We've been talking about how, is it Cuba next? Is it Colombia next? Is it Mexico next? Is it fucking Iran next? Like, now we're trying to kind of fight through the bullshit. So I wanted to make sure that I put this out there for you as well. Again, this was just put out, I want to say maybe half hour, 45 minutes ago.
We have major news this evening. Donald Trump is weighing a massive strike on Iran that could come as soon as potentially this week. According to CNN, this strike will be bigger if he goes through with it than any of the prior strikes on the nuclear sites. This new strike that he's weighing includes possible strikes on government institutions, on nuclear sites, and also on high-level security officials who were responsible for and ordered the killings of the protesters in Iran. Remember that
somehow, please, somebody explain to me how that is not a deliberate and like premium example of an act of war. I mean, if we're taking out nuclear sites, if we're taking out government buildings, if we're taking out government officials, if we're taking out military heads, like, at what point does that not become a blatant act of war? You know what I mean? That clearly needs the authorization, the fucking the permission of given by Congress. Like, why are we just openly allowing him to even debate this shit? It's fucking wild. And that's not done. It goes on.
Remember, there have been mass protests in Iran for several weeks. Thousands of people were killed by the Iranian regime. It was horrific. And well, now Donald Trump has been saying that if you kill protesters, we're going to come after you. And we have this now, quote unquote, armada off the coast of Iran. Lots of military personnel in the region. A strike does appear near. It's a matter of how big and when, and whether or not Iran will take some type of off-ramp here. So we'll see what happens, but he is weighing a major strike this evening. Spread the word. Follow for more.
And again, it needs to be said that Iran has clearly stated that if any further actions were taken against their country, retaliation would be sought against any U.S. bases in surrounding neighboring fucking countries. And those neighboring countries have already been made aware that if such action takes place on Iranian soil, that action would come again against those U.S. bases where your sons, your daughters, your fucking nieces, your nephews, your uncles, your aunts, your fathers, your fucking mothers are possibly stationed right now at any one of these places, at any one of these locations, tasked with undertaking any one of these, strikes possibly. And I got to say, unless some sort of deal is struck like we kind of saw or kind of think happened in Venezuela, in Caracas, then I could be damn sure that it may not be, again, the cakewalk that it was in Caracas. Like, I don't think the Iranians are just going to allow the Chinook helicopters to fly low and slow with the nation's best and brightest fucking warriors that we have just to come right into the middle of fucking Iran and land into what they need to do. I don't foresee that taking place if that's what it comes to. But again, along with the other insanity that we're dealing with on the streets of the United States, along with all the insanity that we're dealing with the war that still rages in Ukraine, all the fucking craziness that we're dealing with Greenland, in NATO, and all the rest of our allies, we're now dealing with this added fucking thing of trying to figure out what country are we trying to take over next? What country are we going to war with next without actually going to war like Marco Rubio would have you believe? But it's fucking crazy. And speaking of craziness, we got to go into this, which is, again, just goes right in line with Donald Trump's ongoing bullshit and propaganda about the 2020 election that he cannot fucking get out of his head. He just cannot shake it. The FBI has now carried out raids on an elections office in Georgia. And you might recognize the name of the county. Let me just, let's see if we can dive into this. It's a real quick video. We don't have to dive into much of this just to kind of get the gist of what took place. But this is just wild. So 2026, it's fucking 2026. And I don't know how many times these fucking ballots have been counted in this one particular county. I think it was something like 3 or 4 times they've been counted by hand, by machine, by fucking, I don't know. People were counting them with their fucking eyelids and their shins at one point. They've been counted so many fucking times. But 6 years later, the FBI, now fucking head by Kash Patel, is going back in to see if they can find documents. Get this, document still floating around from the 2020 election. I shit you fucking not. I shit you not. Check this out. Check this out. Sorry.
Welcome to the News Hour. The FBI executed a search warrant at an election center in Fulton County, Georgia today, seeking records related to the
Fulton County. It's like we've heard that somewhere before, that whole Fulton County thing. Isn't that like, does that ring a bell to anybody that kind of recognizes and remembers what took place during the 2020 debacle? Like, are we doing, this is what we're doing again? Is this just any and all distractions we could possibly conjure up at this moment in time? All right, just talk about war with that rant. Nope, go into Fulton County and start fucking just tell them you're looking for papers 6 years old that you think may be hidden under the fucking bathroom stalls or something. Yep, we're gonna do that. No, talk about war with Mexico. No, shoot more Americans on the streets and give them something to talk about other than Jeffrey Epstein, for Christ's sakes. Like, this is it kind of, that's what it seems like at this point. It's just like, this is the Steve Bannon effect to like the fucking maximum proportion. Like, just throw anything and everything at the wall and hope that the fucking Epstein files somehow slip through the cracks. It's wild.
2020 election.
Federal agents were seen entering the office outside of Atlanta this afternoon. Baseless claims of voter fraud in Fulton County have been a focus of President Trump since he lost the 2020 election. Our White House correspondent Liz Landers has been following all of this, and she joins us now. So, Liz, this search is a remarkable escalation of the president's unfounded claims about the 2020 election. What do we know about what happened?
The FBI confirming to us this afternoon that they are conducting what they say is a court-authorized law enforcement action at that Fulton County election.
And fucking shame on the judge. Okay, shame on the fucking judge. Whoever signed off on this fucking horrendous horseshit fucking, I don't know what you want to call this, circle jerk, right? Should be a fucking shame to themselves, right? I don't know anything. I don't know. Maybe they go on to say who the judge is and what what their background is, but I would be fucking hard pressed to believe that this was anything but, the furthest right-wing Republican judge that they could possibly have brought this to. I don't know how the fucking, the rigmarole worked behind the scenes that they got to choose like that, as sometimes they do. But fucking good Lord, that the fucking judge should be removed from the bench. They should have their fucking license revoked. Their ability to to fucking conduct any sort of law in the state should be revoked. Just to sign off on go ahead. Yeah, I'll allow you to go ahead and disrupt this registration and elections office 6 years later to go in and look for something that happened that we already fucking stipulated didn't happen through the counting and recounting and recounting and recounting again of these fucking ballots. It's unreal.
Center. And just moments before we got on the air, we obtained the search warrant that they have there in
Is it
Georgia.
Signed? Oh, there it is, right there.
It was signed today by a federal.
Okay, so premise at the location of court. 2 special agent affidavit promises. You hereby commanded, yada, yada, yada. Copy of the warrant, receipt property by taken from whom the premises property was taken. Leave it a copy of the warrant, the receipt by place where the property was taken. The officer of the accused warrant and the officer presented during the execution of warrant must prepare inventory as required by law, and promptly this warrant must be returned to the inventory of the United States Magistrate Judge Catherine M. Salinas. Okay, let's see here. Let's do this. Catherine M. Salinas. Honorable Catherine, okay, what's this? All right. So this seems to be her. Does it give me any information on Honorable Catherine M. Salinas? Does it give me any information on, background? Salinas, biographical information, female, gender, magistrate court. Let me see what this says. Biographical information. Doesn't seem like I'm getting too much here. But I'd be fucking curious. I'd be curious as to what her, political affiliations were, if she's had any donations, if she's donated herself, what goes on there. What's going on here? What are these dates? What do these tell me? Financial disclosures for Catherine M. Salinas. Okay. What do we got here? Charles Schwab. Oh, I wish we had the time to go through this. I'd love to fucking pull up a big fat contribution from a fucking known Republican donor or something like that. It'd be sweet to do that on live. But all right, let's dive back into this because it's just crazy.
Federal judge, and in it gives us some more information about what the FBI is seeking. It says they're looking for physical ballots from the 2020 election, envelopes, provisional
Physical ballots from the 2020 election. It's 2020 fucking 6. It's January 28th, 2026. The paper's probably disintegrated by now. It probably looks like the paper that they wrote the fucking Constitution on, right? It's the Declaration of Independence paper at this point. It's in fucking Nicolas Cage's house. You're not gonna find it. It's 6 years old, motherfucker. What are we doing here? What are we doing? What do you think? You're going to find one crumpled up in the corner the janitors fucking missed for the last 6 years? What's happening? Is it an Obama judge? Was there some coercion, or pressure behind the scenes? Because it's a fucking ridiculous notion that they actually came and had some substantial fucking information or like reasoning. Like, wouldn't they have to show this judge some sort of evidence whatsoever that there's like, I don't know, probable cause or reason to believe that something's in that establishment? Or am I getting this wrong? Right? Like, is you just like sign off on anything these days? Like, I don't know. A judge is that scared about the retaliation and retribution from Donald Trump and his cohorts that this is just like fucking, it's a field day now. Just do whatever you want. I don't know. It makes no sense to me. All right, let's move on. Speaking of fucking circle jerks, here we're going to be talking about the ICE circle jerk that continues to happen. This is from Ken Klippenstein. I think this is from his Substack, if I'm not mistaken. This is titled ICE Unloads, Immigration Officers Speak Out, quote, fuck this, end quote. And this is pretty well done. And you know, if what's going on here and the people that he spoke to are being accurate and forthright in what's actually the sentiment behind the scenes, it seems like it's not as hunky-dory, let's say, as we'd believe. And the people that you're now seeing in Minneapolis and other places are the ones, they're like the worst of the worst, put it that way. Like, these are the fucking fuckers that will raise their hand and be like, yes, I would love to go to Minneapolis to stomp my fucking boot on the necks of some American citizens, right? Where others would, you know, kind of, they don't want people that aren't gonna, they don't want agents out there that don't fully toe the line, so to speak. You know what I mean? So they basically are like, okay, raise your hand if you're dying to get out there and smack some fucking citizens around. And then these fat, tubble-odd motherfuckers that can't do anything but play Call of Duty and would fall flat in their face running to the mailbox in the morning to meet the fucking mailman, right? They run out there with their fucking hand raised and their little cosplay boots and their little fucking, just, you know, 9mm. And then they get handed a fucking paintball gun with some pepper balls in it. And they're like, oh, man. Right? So then they want to get out there and start beating some Americans. So these are the fuckers that are out there right now. And pretty much a lot of the other guys, well, I won't say a lot of the other guys, but some of the other guys in the background, I have, let's just say, a different feeling about things. So let's dive into just a little bit of this, because apparently Ken has done some work behind the scenes and he spoke to some people, apparently anonymously that are have some insight into the mindset and the attitude of what's been going on here inside of ICE and DHS and Border Patrol. So let me see. I'll make this a little bigger on the screen in case anybody wants to follow along. How's that? A little bigger? That's good. All right, there we go. All right, let's dive into this. So this is started, quote, it says, help me stay on ICE, Border Patrol, and the National Security by becoming a paid subscriber, yada, yada, yada. I shouldn't have to read that, but he goes, quote, the best they can do is shoot the guy in the back, end quote. That's not the voice of some liberal commentator. That's what a Homeland Security officer told me this weekend. One of over a half a dozen who have reached out to express their alarm over the killing of Alex Preddy in Minneapolis and beyond. I've listened to the stories and the beefs of immigration officers in Minneapolis, across the country, and to a person, they all blame the shooter, one of their own. The major media is stuck on framing the killing of Alex Preddy as some national partisan battle, highlighting Republicans breaking ranks, the NRA protesting, MAGA wavering, and Chuck Schumer doing whatever he's doing, but nobody is really capturing what the federal law enforcement officers on the ground are thinking. The truth is that they are fed up and have been for weeks. They paint a picture that is more police academy or even Reno 911 than a Gestapo on the march. Yes, they agree that Washington is a huge problem and are comfortable with the mission creep that is taking them away from the actual immigration enforcement. But internally, theirs is also a story of a gung-ho 19-year-olds, drunken stakeouts, and senior officers disappearing into meetings and all of a sudden needing time off. They're also frustrated with the narrative unfolding and the information war being waged from Washington, including the flamboyant defense of the shooting and other controversial moves on the ground. So basically, a lot of them see this as being like hugely detrimental to these agencies, and it's going to be, at some point in the future, it's going to be basically the downfall. It's going to create such a rift between society, the citizens of this country, and these agencies that they're never going to be able to recover from this. And I don't think they're wrong. So a lot of them actually see what's going on. They see how they're being perceived, and they don't fucking like it. Right? These are the people that aren't really raising their hands to go out and beat American citizens. These are the ones that aren't mooning, citizens through the window of a third floor of his fucking hotel. And do you guys see the video of the drunk? Seemed like a drunk Border Patrol agent in full gear out in front of the fucking hotel, slurring and stumbling around. I'll see if I can pull that up at some point, but that was fucking wild. So this guy just allegedly seemed to be under the influence, you know what I mean? But this continues here because it says, quote, as much as I support this administration, there needs to be more common sense in situations like this, not a knee-jerk damage control narrative that does not line up with the evidence on the video. So that's basically saying, I voted for this administration, but they need to know how to lie better. Like they need to know how to understand optics. So this isn't somebody on the liberal side. This isn't somebody, on our side of things. This is somebody within the agency, within Border Patrol that voted for Donald Trump that still doesn't agree with what the fuck's been going on. Okay, so that's a big point of contention here. That's a huge point that we need to continue to point out. These are Trump supporters, Trump voters that we've been talking about, that Border Patrol and ICE and DHS have been recruiting. These are the people. But now some of them, even some of those, are having trouble, swallowing the narrative, swallowing the bullshit that's being fed down their throats by this administration. So again, it says, as much as I support this administration, there needs to be some more common sense in situations like this, not a knee-jerk damage control narrative that does not line up with the evidence on the video. One Border Patrol agent said in a private group chat that was shared with me, quote, this individual was shot 8 to 9 times while unarmed, unquote. More than that. We can't always support what happens just because it's one of us, he adds. And again, this is within the group chat of Border Patrol, within DHS. An ICE agent was even more critical. Quote, yet another justified fatal shooting, 10 versus 1, and somehow they couldn't find a way to subdue the guy or use a less than lethal, and then he probably goes on to say force. Oh, excuse me, he doesn't. It probably just ends at less than lethal, just using it as shorthand. So basically this ICE agent saying, hey, fucking, yep, you're just another justified, in air quotes, he's doing on the chat, basically fatal shooting, 10 versus 1, where they couldn't subdue a guy or figure out how to use less than lethal force other than just shooting the guy in broad daylight on the street, 10, 12 times, whatever it was on that one. And then he goes on to say, quote, they all carry belts with vests with 9,000 pieces of equipment on them, and the best they can do is shoot a guy in the back. And again, this is one of their own saying this. Overall, as somebody who has been covering this for months, I am struck by how angry Homeland Security officers are with their own agencies and their blunt dismissal of the Washington leadership. All of the immigration officers I interviewed for this story spoke on the condition of anonymity. Sagging morale and declining standards are a constant theme I picked up, problems that these sources have been festering long before the deaths of Petty and Renee Good, and the ones that very much contributed to these outcomes. More than one ICE agent in particular complained about how Washington's focus on labeling protesters as, quote, impeding federal functions and thus breaking the law, and the vilification of, quote, Antifa and the others labeled as paid agitators, leftists, radicals, extremists, and terrorists is confusing the ranks while also distracting everybody from the immigration enforcement mission. He says, quote, I can go on and on, but overall it's been ridiculous. It's been a ridiculous experience, one ICE agent told me. He says that many agents on the ground are just going along with the expanded mission because they are more interested in their away from home per diem pay and collecting overtime than whatever the mission is. Others expressed the cynicisms typical of everyone who toils at the bottom of any bureaucratic food chain, poo-pooing rapid expansion of the ICE army and shaking their heads over the ridiculous budget increase being fought for in Washington that will have no impact where they work. Quote, the brand new agents are idiots, one said. An experienced ICE agent assigned to the Homeland Security investigations told me. This same sentiment was echoed by virtually everyone I talked to, with several conveying the view that Preddy's death was the fault of some skittish young recruit who panicked when he heard the word gun, right? So again, sounds a lot like, oh, thank you so much, Yvonne. I'm sorry, I was reading. I'm sorry to anybody that had one fly by me, but thank you so much, Yvonne, for the 20 gift. That's incredible. Thank you very much. Please make sure we're reaching out to Yvonne to thank Yvonne for her kind and generous contribution to the chat. Very much appreciated. Very nice of you. But yeah, this is words coming from inside their own ranks here. So even these people understand. Like, this isn't good for anybody. Like, the agencies aren't going to benefit from this. We're not going to get any fucking benefit from this. The citizens aren't benefiting from this, clearly. It says, another one continued and said, quote, I thought federal agents were supposed to be clean cut, but some of them passed around a flask as they were watching a suspect, observing as well as the news guys. Some have weird tattoos. I wonder what those weird tattoos are. I'm sure a couple of them may look like swastikas. Those tattoos, I'm told, are symbolic of the fact that the new recruits tend to be more ideologically motivated than those of the past. This problem is compounded by the fact raised by several officers that ICE is relying on volunteers to go to Minneapolis and other Democratic cities on those temporary deployments. This tends to favor new recruits and those who are chasing overtime pay. It's unclear if these task forces who are organized in cities like Minneapolis are indeed who is in charge and in control, but those who I have interviewed agree that the tide is turning, and some agencies like the FBI are increasingly no-shows in the field, and others are expressing a reluctance to participate in non-immigration missions. And this goes on to talk about some more of the insights that he got. These briefings are now focusing on retaliatory threats. And I would definitely, steer you in the direction of reading and finishing out the rest of this, because it gives good insight into, just what some of these people are saying behind the scenes. I'd wish a lot more of them would get it and do it in front of cameras, with microphones in front of them, maybe on some television shows, maybe on some radio shows, and fucking grab their balls and do something about it. But, the fact that they're starting now to reach out anonymously to people like Ken Klippenstein, to other reporters, I'm sure, to some aspect, is a good sign. Just to see that they're not all fucking gung-ho, and behind this fucking mission 100% is a good thing. It is a good thing, I think. So, I just wanted to make sure I read that out. But, right in line with the Alex Preddy and kind of how it's hit the nation and how it's kind of really struck a chord with people all around the world. Again, we don't have to play this whole thing. We're just going to listen to, a couple minutes of this, but this is something that I was pretty struck by, because Legal Eagle is somebody that I've been watching, passingly on YouTube for a long time, not religiously or anything like that, but he's always got solid takes on things that we've talked about a lot of the time. So I'm not sure if you're familiar. He's got a huge channel, almost 4 million subscribers, and he's very, he's a lawyer. He's a very dry. A lot of the times he puts a lawyer humor in there. It's very what I call, or what I think is, dry humor a lot. But, he's the typical, not your over the top, not your bombastic, not me, basically. You know what I mean? So this was his reaction to the execution, as he calls it, of Alex Preddy. He says it broke him. And I was really I was taken aback by this and the show of emotion that he has here. And I just kind of wanted to play this to, in case anybody's familiar with them and hasn't seen this. And this just goes to show how the majority of the people in the country are reacting and kind of feel about what they're seeing now with Alex Preddy, with Renee Nicole Good, with others that were taken out and have lost not only their lives, but people have lost their eyesight. People have been fucking permanently scarred and injured for life. So just like I said, just a couple minutes of this, a minute if anything, just so we can get the sentiment of people that wouldn't typically be showing such emotion in other situations.
I know all of us have seen the videos of what is basically the execution of Alex Preddy. I've seen it from more angles and more times than I care to repeat. I'm not going to give an in-depth frame-by-frame analysis You don't need a lawyer to tell you what you can see with your own eyes, which is that it was an inexcusable state-sanctioned murder. There is no excuse. There is no justification. And it is the latest in what is probably a long line. This one happens to have been videotaped, thankfully, by many brave bystanders. As you can tell, I'm not in my studio. I was on a plane yesterday. Oh God, it's cold out here. It's 0 degrees, which is still 10 degrees warmer than it is in Minneapolis right now. But in some sense, I do this for a living. I analyze the videos that are out there and think about things from a legal perspective. And I saw the first video when it came out. It was pretty clear. But with any video taken from across the street, there's some ambiguity. And I think the second video came out. In the second video, you can hear that Alex Pretty's last words were, "Are you okay?" Which he said to the woman that was next to him, who had been pushed down by the ICE or CBP officer who was acting unhinged, where Alex Pretty just has his phone out and his left arm is free. I think those were his last words, and I think those were his last acts, was trying to help the woman that was pushed down by the man in the green sweatshirt, who I think eventually was the first agent who shot him.
Again,
And like I said,
we don't have to watch the whole thing, but I mean, just to see the amount of emotion that has gone into this, and to see the emotional toll that it's taken. Oh, excuse me, on him. You know what I mean? It really drilled home just what everybody in this country is feeling right now, or the overwhelming amount of people in this country are feeling right now. And for people that have been familiar with his work and have seen his videos, and know basically his general personality, I thought this would be kind of poignant and would strike home and would strike a chord maybe to those who haven't been already struck on that chord already. So big respect to Legal Eagle for getting on and making this video, for not being afraid or ashamed to show emotion or to show how much he was affected by this act. So yeah, big shout out to him. And again, anybody not subscribed to Legal Eagle, I would definitely recommend it. It's kind of funny that a channel of less than 20,000 is recommending people to subscribe to a channel of almost 4 million. But that's what we're here for, right? It doesn't matter how big the boat is. I'm here to fucking lift it. All right. So again, big shout out to him. I just wanted to kind of drill that home a little bit. All right, let's dive into more about Republicans joining Democrats calling for Kristi Noem's firing, because the heat is now turning up. The blame game. Let me see if I can throw this on, because there's another scoop by Axios here. The blame game erupts over Trump's team's false claims over Alex Pretty's sought, quote, massacre. And this is something that we were fucking enraged about the other day when Kristi Noem and Dan Bavino and Stephen Miller were coming out and trying to again portray Alex Pretty as this like fucking monster who went out there to cause mass harm to agents and people and civilians all over. Like, it's ridiculous. So apparently, I don't know if it was Donald Trump, I don't know if it was other people within the administration, but something has happened behind the scenes where it's even forced Stephen Miller, literally today's fucking Heinrich Himmler, like the fucking like the sickest man around, the man that's going to be literally going down in flames with Donald Trump as Donald Trump walks into the fucking depths of hell. When he was kind of left out of that meeting, I don't know if you guys remember us talking about that 2-hour meeting Kristi Noem kind of wanted and had at the White House. But it was also reported, I believe by Axios, that Stephen Miller was left out of that meeting. And we didn't know really what to speculate from that, but I did say that was probably something that would be looking at again, like that little piece of information. And I wasn't wrong, because this has really started off a firestorm, and kind of who's the schmuck that started this bullshit. And they're all blaming each other. Kristi Noem's blaming Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller's blaming DHS. They don't know what the fuck's going on. So again, let's just a little bit from this. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is under fire for issuing misleading and incendiary information that claimed immigrants, agents, and killed an unarmed Minnesota protester Saturday because he wanted to, quote, massacre them. Okay, the language has now become the source of controversy in the Trump administration. White House officials are blaming CBP officials for furnishing inaccurate information, while others are targeting Stephen Miller, White House Deputy Chief of Staff and top Trump advisor. 6 sources with knowledge of the situation told Axios. So this is not 1, this is not 2, this is not 3, 4, or 5 anonymous fucking people. This is 6 different sources with knowledge of this information talking to Axios. Okay, so that's a lot of fucking sources. If you don't know like what the number of sources is and like how many's a lot, 6 is a lot. It's a lot. Okay, why it matters. The episode illustrates the confusion that gripped the administration after the Saturday shooting death of Minnesota protester Alex Preddy. It shows the influence of Miller, Trump's close and longest-serving political advisor, whose dominion in the White House thus far exceeds his title. Miller's power extends into the de facto oversight of Noem, though she's a cabinet secretary who technically outranks him. Everything I've done at the direction of the president and Stephen, Noem told a person who relayed her remarks to Axios. So that's her throwing everything back on Stephen Miller. The zoom in here says that immediately after Preddy was fatally shot in Minneapolis at 10:05 Eastern on Saturday, administration officials in Washington knew that they had a potential disaster on their hands, but had little information. The officers directly involved in the shooting all shut up and got lawyers real quick, so there wasn't a lot of information. They all got out of town real fucking quick, too. They all beat feet real fucking quick. The CBP officers on the ground furnished a report that White House officials told Axios left officials with the belief that Preddy had brandished a gun. Miller heard gun and knew that what the narrative would be. Preddy came to massacre cops. Basically, that was his first thought. Okay, he had a gun. Okay, this is what we have to go with. It was the guarantee is what happened. A source briefed on the process of assembling the press statement said any early comments made were based on information sent to the White House through CBP, Miller told Axios in response to an earlier version of the story in which others blamed him for the, quote, massacre statement. Again, wouldn't you want, I don't know, if you're getting like rushed information, wouldn't you kind of hold off on your judgment? Wouldn't you kind of hold off on your statements until you had the, I don't know, the full picture, really, like the, you know, all of the fucking angles and all of the information instead of rushing to judgment and saying this would be what, like, you know, a professional politician or a professional person in a position of power would do, but not these fucking assholes. DHS posted the statement at 12:31 on X. Some White House officials had signed off on the statement, but others had not, leaving them frustrated. Others within the White House attempted to clean up the DHS statement prior to it being sent out, but it had already been disseminated. But other sources familiar with the episode. President Trump was kept apprised of the statement by Miller and Noem's top advisor, Corey Lewandowski. Top advisor. One of the Trump's former campaign managers in 2016, according to 2 sources. Minutes after the DHS statement, Miller posted on X and called Preddy an assassin, which source told he was based on a preliminary report from Customs and Border Patrol. Bavino should be blamed, it says here, for the misinformation as they're trying to scapegoat him even further. Not Stephen, a White House source said, in adding that Bavino supplied the details about the shooting to those in D.C. During her news conference, Noem inaccurately suggested Preddy was brandishing his weapon, although videos never showed he was reaching for his weapon and had been disarmed before he was shot. So again, this is going back and forth. And again, if you want to get into the rest of the details here between these kind of morons and degenerates in the Trump administration fighting back and forth and who's the lowest of the low, then I would direct you towards this Axios article entitled, once again, Scoop Blame Game Erupts Over Trump Team's False Claim Alex Preddy Sought Massacre. Again, Axios doing some good work on this front at least. So, yeah, it continues. It remains to be seen what comes from Stephen Miller, what comes from Kristi Noem in the future. But just the role reversal, like I believe Stephen Miller had even come out, and it might be within this video, so we'll dive into this. But Stephen Miller had done like a complete 180, basically, which is completely unlike Stephen Miller, even when he's dead wrong. Like he continues to double and triple down because he knows he's got the approval of the president of the United States, Donald fucking Trump, and will back anything that the guy says. So to see him kind of now say that maybe the officers didn't act in accordance with the policies, paraphrasing, of course, just to have him kind of backtrack that much. Like, did he get a stern spanking in the Oval Office? Did Donald Trump favor Kristi Noem over Stephen Miller, and he's trying to get back in the good graces? I think a lot of people are speculating at this point, but let's dive into this. This is just real quick from WBZ Boston here. 40 years since the challenger, but that's not what we're talking about. This is entitled "More Republicans Join Democrats Calling for Kristi Noem's Firing." So let's dive into this. Again, I think it's about the first minute and a half.
New at 5:30, more Republicans on Capitol Hill are joining Democrats calling for Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem's firing.
Now, the anger of the Minneapolis shootings and ICE tactics is also pushing the government closer to a shutdown. CBS correspondent Erica Brown joins us live in Washington, D.C. to show us why. Erica, good evening.
Good evening. And the fallout from Saturday's deadly shooting in Minneapolis continues to grow, with pressure mounting on Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem here on Capitol Hill due to her handling of that incident. And now lawmakers from both sides of the aisle are calling for her ouster. There are new calls Wednesday for DHS Secretary Kristi Noem to be fired or face impeachment proceedings in the wake of Saturday's shooting death of Alex Preddy by federal agents.
She clearly doesn't know how to manage. She's never managed a large organization, and she's failing at every possible measure of the job.
Republican Senators Tillis and Lisa
Tom
Murkowski.
Tillis, okay? That's Republican Senator Tom Tillis. This isn't Chuck Schumer, okay? We're not talking about fucking AOC or Ilhan Omar and their statements, okay? That was fucking Tom Tillis. Listen to what he says.
Proceedings in the wake of Saturday's shooting death of Alex Preddy by federal agents.
She clearly doesn't know how to manage. She's never managed a large organization, and she's failing at every possible measure of the job.
Republican.
I'm sorry. Was that a good thing? Was that a good assessment of the job that she's been doing? I'm sorry. Was that a glowing praise? Like, Jesus Christ. She's fucking, when you've lost Senator Tom Tillis from North Carolina, like, you're doing a shit job at this point. So I think it goes on a little further.
Senators Tom Tillis and Lisa Murkowski have joined congressional Democrats who are calling for her ouster, even as President Trump continues to stand by her.
You have confidence in them? As long as the president does, I'll support her.
Other
because you're a bootlicker. That's what that's called. You're licking the boots, and the guy that's fucking wearing the boots that you're licking, you'll do anything he says. And it's amazing that you continuously say it in front of fucking cameras for history to fucking have, like, for eternity's sake to remember by. So again, the I've had it ladies are now diving into, Kristi Noem and Stephen Miller's kind of reversal and the fighting going on. So I figured we'd dive into a little bit of their video, a little bit of their discussion, talking about what we've been talking about here in the last couple articles. So what do you say we dive into this? Hit that like button. I'm Boston Bryant. This is the Blunt Politics Podcast. I really do appreciate it. We're on our way to 20,000 subscribers here, and it's only with your help that we're going to get there. And this is Jen and Pumps from I've Had It. It's been a while since we've taken a look at anything they've done. So what do you say we dive into there? This is titled Trump's White House in Free Fall as Miller Iced Out of Secret Meeting. That's the one that we discussed and talked about the other day. And Noem is on thin ice. So what do you say we dive into this? Just a couple minutes of it, and then we'll go on to talk about some updates from some disastrous undertakings by Russia in Ukraine and some other stories out of Ukraine as well. So what do you say we dive into this? I appreciate you guys. Hit that like button.
The murdering, sociopathic fascists are throwing feces all over the White House right now because they shot innocent Americans, and it turns out the American public doesn't like that. And their leader, Donald Trump, is all about optics. He doesn't care about human life. Oh, he does one because her parents were Trumpers. But he cares about the optics. And this administration is getting ripped by, like, even the New York Post editorial board. And so, of course, the feces throwing has begun. It's the blame game. And number one on the list is we've got to fire Kristi Noem. But interestingly, when they had a little powwow in the Oval, Stephen Miller.
Well, hey, Antifa Ron, you dumbass. I don't know if you're serious or not serious, but if you're being facetious, my apologies. But if you're not being facetious, what a dumb statement, considering I believe it was the former head of the NRA. You do know what the NRA is, the National Rifle Association, that said multiple times in which she's attended plenty of protests, rallies, and other things, armed to the teeth. Not only that, but it was Kyle Rittenhouse that also showed up to protest and discharged an illegal weapon that he had transported across state lines that I'm sure, again, if you're not being facetious, if you're not just fucking pulling my leg here, probably supported. I'm sure we could pull that up. So kind of dumb to say that an American in an open carry state that is legally permitted and licensed to carry that firearm shouldn't go protest at, while armed. Like, if there's any position or place that you're going to take a fucking gun to, it would be that of a situation where there's going to be a lot of fucking people, and a situation that's not going to be well known, that you can't script, that you don't know how it's going to end. You don't say, I'm going to an unknown situation with a bunch of fucking people. Why don't I leave my legally permitted firearm at home today? No, that's when you go into like the schools and shit, you leave it at home. Not when you're going outside into, again, an area that you're unaware of how it's going to fucking react or what the reaction to it's going to be. You dumbass. Sorry. And again, if you just fucking pull my leg, I apologize. If not, you're an idiot. Sorry.
Was sidelined from the powwow. The Daily Beast is reporting Stephen Miller is being sidelined after he was reportedly shut out of a closed-door White House meeting following the killing of Alex Preddy. And then put up the next one, Kylie. Kristi Noem. Mark Caputo tweets, the man behind the Minnesota massacre misinformation is Stephen Miller. Noem, Kristi Noem, the puppy killer, is telling others she feels hung out to dry and was just following White House direction. The officers directly involved in the shooting all shut up and got lawyers real quick, so there wasn't a lot of information.
That was from the article that actually we just read. But now you got to wonder, like, is Kristi Noem going to be the next scapegoat? Like, is she being set up here? It almost seems like they fed her the line to say she read it, and now she's getting shit for reading that. Like, because Donald Trump favors by a long margin Stephen Miller over her. Like, I don't think she has a fucking prayer in this if it comes down to whether or not Stephen Miller's got to go or she's got to go. Like, she's fucking on the outs. Like, she might as well lie down in the pit next to her dead dog at this point, because she ain't fucking sticking around too long. Her and Corey are going to be blowing each other at the fucking next Motel 6, quicker than fucking she can count to 2, in this case. But, it just, it's a little funny right now how, they're looking for scapegoats. They're looking for people to blame, and these little fucking backdoor dealings, and people trying to, again, edge their way up with the deer Fuhrer and get their way, a little bit closer after they've seen themselves kind of fall back. You know what I mean?
And one of the sources briefed on the statement.
Again, we just read this part, so I apologize. I won't put you through that again. We'll go right after where they finish that.
Not that likable and not that helpful.
Candy, thank you for the 20, Candy. For Brian, one of the few men my middle-aged crabby ass enjoys listening to. Bravo, sir. Well, I appreciate you, Candy. Thank you so much. I don't know about Crabby. You've always been very bright and very interacting and very well behaved in the chat. So I don't know how crabby you could possibly be, but I do appreciate the fact that I do hold the top spot, or at least one spot in the fact, in the people that you listen to. So I do appreciate it.
So they're like, okay, she's all about her blowouts and costume changes, so let's kick her to the curb. And she's like, listen up, MFers. I did exactly what Stephen Miller told me to do. Well, Stephen Miller is useful to Trump because he does all the heavy lifting on policy that Trump's not interested in.
Yeah, and I believe, as I was kind of saying earlier, I believe it was Lindsey Graham that had already gone on Fox and said, listen, if you think like Stephen Miller's going anywhere, you're crazy. Because it sounds to me like at some point Lindsey Graham had tried to kind of get in between Stephen Miller and the president and learned that wasn't a very smart thing to do, and kind of paid the price for that. And now is trying to warn other people that, I think he put it like, when the clock strikes 12 on the Trump administration, there's going to be a few people walking out of the White House with Donald Trump, and Stephen Miller is going to be one of them. So again, that doesn't bode well for Kristi Lewandowski in their position that they think they hold, especially where, again, it seems like from what it seems like they were thrown under the bus, because it seems like Bavino came out with it. If I'm getting that Axios article, Bavino came out with the statement Some White House people approved it, some did not. It was passed on to Christie. She read it like an idiot. And then, she's now being kind of reprimanded for it when, by all accounts, by the things that's been reported, she didn't necessarily come up with it. She was just the moron that didn't confirm what she was now reading in front of the country. And she's just an idiot.
At all the executive orders, all that stuff. Stephen Miller does all that stuff. And Trump doesn't care that it's depraved. So I think this is a really interesting development because it sounds like if Kristi Noem goes down, she says, Stephen, I'm bringing you down with me.
Which would make me so happy. The thing about it is when you hear Greg Bovino talk and Kristi Noem talk, it was immediately clear they were talking off of the same set of guidelines. No one is surprised that Stephen Miller is behind the most sadistic of this behavior. It has been said from jump. He runs the Justice Department. Pam Bondi's a figurehead. Yeah,
much like the article just stated, like his title is one thing as Donald Trump's top aide, but he really has far more power. Like he has far more reach than his title would suggest. Right? He's so close to the Fuhrer that he's kind of like he's like the Martin Bormann, right? He's in a lot of ways he's not, because he's fucking just a decrepit, fucking disgusting thing. But so was Martin Bormann to a large extent. But Martin Bormann was so close to Hitler that he just kind of wielded a lot of power. Like a lot of people were forced to step through or talk to or deal with Martin Bormann before they had any fucking opportunity, a chance to get within, I don't know, a football field of Hitler. You know what I mean? So basically, it's just like, that's kind of Stephen Miller's role in this. Like he doesn't, he's like, I forget what Bormann's actual title was, but he had far more power and reach and commanded a lot more authority than his title would suggest, or what the power that his, title actually came with. Same thing for the Stephen Miller type in this aspect. But again, good to see the infighting here. It's chaotic, like we thought it was going to be, but they seem to be, again, reacting to the public sentiment of what the statements were and what the video actually showed, and the outcrying of support and the outcrying of outrage and frustration that people have been showing. And again, if we can get rid of Bovino, if fucking Kristi Noem is set to fucking hit the bricks, I mean, if we can send, a couple of these other bastards packing in the meantime, I would consider this, a huge victory for the people of Minnesota, Minneapolis, and obviously the country as well. So what do you say we dive on to in the last half hour? We got, what time is it? No, we don't have, I keep forgetting what time we end. So, but yeah, we have a couple more minutes to finish of this, and then we'll dive into the stories from Ukraine.
Is a figurehead for Stephen Miller. It's his immigration policies. He's trying to act to $3,000 a day, all of those things. What I find so interesting about this is that Kristi Noem says, I feel hung out to dry. No shit. Look at Trump from the start of his life to now. He passes the buck. He throws people under the bus.
Especially if you're a woman, right? Especially if you're a woman. I mean, it doesn't matter who the fuck it was, right? If it was the choice between any one of the male figures, any one of the male morons that now surround Donald Trump, and any female in the administration, as much as Donald Trump is infatuated with females that can't fucking stand him, would never touch him, and hate his fucking guts, he still would never choose them over one of the male cohorts that he has. It's not going to happen. So regardless, if there's a fucking, there's a scale going on, and Stephen Miller's on one side and Kristi Noem's on the other side, at all points is that fucking chute going to open under Kristi Noem's feet, like it's fucking, like it's like it's Willy Wonka's chocolate factory here. You know what I mean? It's just not going to happen where he's going to send Stephen Miller packing. At least in my opinion, I think he's around for the long haul. He's got too much insider knowledge. He knows too much.
Not as
in
important
order for him to be kind of, kicked aside at this point. All right. But yeah, let's go on.
As Stephen Miller. So her feeling out to dry like it's a shock. This day was going to come no matter what.
Yeah. And this is interesting. Last night, Katie Miller started tweeting, and I'm going to read this to you. She says, Miller said the Minnesota operations didn't follow the guidelines established by the White House in the aftermath of January 7th shooting of another Minneapolis demonstrator, Renee Good. Specifically, Miller said, so basically, she is tweeting out an article to do damage control on Stephen. So they know, like, they know, like, if Christie throws us under the bus, we're fucked. Like, they know this. And so Axios,
I disagree. I think that Stephen Miller is very firm in his position. I think he knows damn well that it's not going to be him over. I mean, it's not going to be Kristi Noem over him that gets to fucking, gets to stay around in the position. I don't believe it. I think he knows he fucked up and is trying to do some damage control, but I just don't think to the extent at which he thinks his position is in jeopardy, to the extent that Kristi Noem should worry about her position, at least. You know what I mean? All right, but this is let's dive into some of the Ukraine news, and then again, if the Alex Preddy vigil is still going on, we can dive back into that. I'm not sure that it is, but if it is, we can always dive back into it. We get a few things to cover here as well. So this is just one thing that I wanted to cover as far as kind of like new reporting is concerned on the Ukraine front. This is by Reuters, and now the U.S. has told Ukraine it must sign peace deal with Russia to get security guarantees. And again, you'll not be happy when you hear basically what they're forcing Ukraine to kind of back down to as far as demands from Russia. So this is from January 27th, yesterday. The United States has told Ukraine that it must go sign on to a peace deal with Russia in order to get U.S. security guarantees, a source familiar with internal discussions told Reuters on Tuesday. U.S. security guarantees are considered by Ukraine as the linchpin for any settlement to ending Russia's 4-year-old invasion of Ukraine. The United States brokered talks in Abu Dhabi between envoys for Ukraine and Russia last weekend that the U.S. officials said made progress towards an agreement. Listen to this, though. The Financial Times reported that the Trump administration has signaled to Ukraine that the U.S. security guarantees depend on Kyiv agreeing to a peace deal, likely requiring it to cede the Donbas region to Russia. Okay, so this is now basically going to give up all of the resources that Kyiv and Ukraine has put into building up and establishing defensive lines in and around that area. Basically, now Donald Trump is basically just saying that, hey, what I want you to do is forget about the hundreds of millions of dollars that you spent building up defensive, encampments, defensive lines with dragon's teeth and fucking mines and razor wire and all the rest of the shit, right? Don't worry about all that. We're going to give all that land to Russia after all the fighting. We're going to put them on the other side of that fucking established defensive line, and then we're going to just hope for peace for all time, right? That's now what the United States is pressuring Ukraine, as we suspected a long time ago. Remember when I was telling you guys, when everybody was like, oh, a peace deal, there's a peace deal coming, oh, there's a peace deal. And I was like, hey, motherfuckers, ain't no way there's a peace deal in the works right now. There's just nothing on the table, even remotely close, that's telling me that peace is close, that a peace deal is near, as all the reporting was coming down with the 22-point plan and the 27-point plan and fucking, the Donald Trump's 2-inch plan, if you know what I mean. And then, it was all nonsense and ridiculous, and Europe had a plan and Ukraine had a plan and they had a plan. It was just never an honest, actual fucking discussion for peace. It was just never was. And I told you guys to be very skeptical of it. I told you guys that it was never going to fucking happen the way any of those were written. And look how fucking far along we are just from that point and how right we've been. Okay. And this is just more of that, just more of this ridiculous bullshit that Ukraine has already been quite clear on, that they're not willing to give up, right? Not willing to just, again, like I said, just diminish all of their territorial fucking, the losses that they've incurred to try to get this territory back. It's just, get the fuck out of here, especially at a time where it's now being reported that it would take Russia some 50 million losses in order for them to reach the Dnieper River. Like, you understand? Can you fathom what it was like? How many fucking years and how many lives would be saving Russia just by handing over the rest of the Donbas region? Like, it's unbelievable to think that that's still to this day where we're at in these fucking talks, right? It's ridiculous. It goes on to say Russia and Ukraine negotiators are meeting again on Sunday in Abu Dhabi with the possible participation by U.S. officials. U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner came away from these talks last weekend optimistic that a deal could be reached soon, something we've heard about $1 billion and $2 billion times. We've heard that one time for every dollar that Jared Kushner got from the Saudi crown prince that killed Jamal Khashoggi. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Sunday that a U.S. document on security guarantees for Ukraine was 100% ready, and Kyiv is now awaiting a time and a place for it to be signed. Zelensky has consistently said that Ukraine's territorial integrity must be upheld in any peace deal to end the war. Ukraine is increasingly uncertain whether Washington will commit to security guarantees, a senior Ukrainian official told the Financial Times, saying that U.S., quote, stops each time the security guaretees can be signed. The Kremlin said on Monday the question of territory remained fundamental to any deal to end the fighting in Ukraine. The TASS news in a news agency reported after weekend talks in Abu Dhabi. So more of the same bullshit of the United States pressuring our ally to then cede territory to our enemy who was responsible for the attacks in the first place. And you wonder why we're having such fucking trouble with our allies on the world stage. It's a mystery. It's a fucking mystery. And again, talking about a mystery and not good times for Russia. This is depicting a rather disastrous, let's just say, mission undertaken by the Russian attackers recently in Ukraine. And this is a Preston Stewart video depicting these actions. And if I can just dive into it, this is titled "No Hope for These Russian Attackers." And again, we just have to dive into maybe the first maybe 3 to 5 minutes of this to kind of get the information. And boy, oh boy, does it not go well for Russia. Here we go.
Lost it again 3 times over.
According from the beginning.
So every Russian soldier attacking right now isn't making it home, and their only chance of survival is to be captured by Ukraine. That's not a normal situation in this war, but this
and what he's talking about is basically if these soldiers aren't captured by Ukraine, they're dying from malnutrition, they're dying from hypothermia, they're dying from fucking bomb fragments, they're dying from FPV drones, they're dying from artillery. All right, they're dying from fucking, bad food. They're dying from every which way. They're dying from disease. They're dying from fucking everything that you could possibly think of, to the point where, quite literally, at this point, being captured by the Ukrainian military is the best hope for survival for the Russian troop. Think about that. Think about how fucking maltreated you need to be, how unequipped you need to be, right? How fucking the supply lines have to be shit in order to just literally for you to be like, I need to be captured in order to stay alive. Like, it's crazy. And again, that's above and beyond this disastrous mission he's going to go on to talk about here.
Normal battlefield. And once they move out from Russian lines, there's nowhere to hide. I mean, it's not just Ukrainian drones they have to dodge and take cover from, but freezing temperatures that are taking their toll every day at the front, which is one of the reasons we just kicked off a fundraiser to help 3 different Ukrainian units with vehicles and power generation. More on that later in the video. Now, a Russian father here, Alexander Anorin, just went off on the Russian authorities for not changing their tactics at the front, despite the staggering losses they continue to sustain. He says,
again,
quote,
this is the father of a Russian soldier. I believe one now missing. I believe he's missing out there, and saying that the Russians haven't changed their tactics in the way that they're going. It would cost them, quite literally some 50 million people. I think he says something around that number, something crazy, in order for them to even reach the Dnieper River. So listen to this. And again, this is a Russian father of a Russian soldier.
So what does this mean? In order for the Russian military to reach at least the Dnipro, they will need to lose 50 million people killed. He noted that over the last 6 months, his son's regiment, his son is missing, was a member of the 102nd Motor Rifle Regiment. He says their losses amounted to 6,000 people, which is equivalent to 3 regiment formations. So that means that they lost an entire regiment, refilled it with all new soldiers, lost it again 3 times over, according to this soldier's father. He pointed out that the regiment's attack sector is 1.5 to 2 kilometers wide, and the advance over 6 months is around 15 kilometers. He calculated that with similar losses along the entire front line, they would amount to up to 3 million people.
And again, he's doing some like real math on this, you know, depicting how far it's taken them to go from point A to point B, how many fucking soldiers his son's unit has lost, you know, multiply that by the units across the front lines, and then you can get the total of how many dead Russians it would take for them to just, you know, get to a certain point in Ukraine further on than they are. And he's kind of, the numbers that he's coming out with are fucking astronomical. And again, all the more reason for the United States and Ukraine even more to not give up this land, to not just hand over, to not cede this territory that, again, these people would have to fight tooth and nail for. And again, risk generational loss. Like, we're talking about fucking quite literally the workforce, the future of Russia being in jeopardy, depending on how many fucking people they continue to lose in this fucking war, right?
To show you the area he's talking about on the map with those level of casualties, it's understandable that they're fighting in one of the hottest sectors at the front. We've got deep state map up here, and the area he says his son's regiment, the 102nd, was operating in was up here, the Sovivka area, so just to the east of the Dobropilya salient, a little northeast of Pokrovsk. We know this has been the focus of Russian offensive operations for well over a year at this point. He will call out Poltava here in a minute as well, where, in fact, he says this was taken a long time ago, and they still cannot conduct casualty evacuations from here. It's too close to the front. So he kind of argues, what does it even mean that we control this area?
And that's something that I was talking about, like, I've been continuously bringing up. Like, if you bring up the deep state map, how many times have I told you guys, right, where, like, you see a lot of red, right? You see a lot of the fucking red in there, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there's, like, all Russian troops all over there and that they have the ability to, you know, defend and attack in every single one of these areas that you now see red in. You know what I mean? Like we were talking about up in, where were we? Up in, where the fuck were we before that we were looking at? Yeah, we were up, like up in the, oh, fuck, I forget now where the fuck we were talking about. Not Kharkiv, not in that area. Is it Sloviansk? Was it Sloviansk we were talking about? I don't know why Izium's up there in highlighted. Let's see if I can remember exactly the area we were talking about. Not Vovchansk. Sometimes you stay away from the map too long and it becomes like it almost it gets weird to you. But that's not it either. That's not it either. Well, I'll find it. I'll find the area we're talking about. But it was a good fucking indication. Like, so he's talking about up in this area here where, you know, even so it says the Russians have, tyranny but they're still not able to take their troops out of it. Right. So the father's like, so what does it actually mean to actually, to occupy this territory if you're still not even able to evacuate your dead or your wounded? Right. Like you don't have the troops. You don't have the manpower to even evacuate your troops at this point. And you're going to somehow, make it seem like you're in full control of the area, basically. It's kind of crazy. You know what I mean? Oh, that's why. It was zoomed in on that area. I get you. All right. I got you. So here's the Pokrovsk area. All right, now we're back in action. Now I get my bearings back. I was like, where the hell does it go? Because I was zoomed in on Izium. I was wondering why that was happening. All right, so yeah, so basically you can see here, and I believe he said it was like the Poltavka area. As you can see, I was trying to zoom in on the same area he was talking about, but I couldn't find myself on the map. But he was talking about this area up in here, right? The Dobropilya salient that he was talking about is this that he's talking about here. So Sofivka, where he's talking about. So up in this area. So it's like, it does show that it's all covered in red. Looks like the fucking Russians have that whole area occupied, but they still can't even evacuate the dead and wounded. So that just goes to show, a little bit of how this map can be a little bit deceiving sometimes when you look at the, the area controlled. It can be deceiving. So I just want to make sure that that's clear to everybody as well. But yeah, I'm going to dive on to here where he talks about this upcoming, this attack that didn't go too well, where he starts about here. Let's go.
Operations, and you're hiding your incompetence behind the backs of soldiers and compensating for it with their lives. And you're afraid to write a report to your superiors. And this is generally what we're seeing. I mean, what he's describing is what we are continuing to see in video footage coming out from the front. Day in and day out, we're seeing individual Russian soldiers moving across completely frozen open terrain. One
Again,
at a
these
time.
aren't people, these aren't squads, these aren't brigades, right? These aren't fucking whole battalions or anything. These are single individual people just quite literally roaming through the fucking snow-covered land, just I don't know, attracting FPV drones. You know what I mean? It's like they have no real course of action. It seems like they're completely lost. It seems like they're completely like, a lot of the time they're just like tunnel vision. You know, you can tell somebody that's aware and is alert out on the battlefield, out in open ground, that's keeping their wits about them for FPV drones, for, you know, artillery, incoming artillery or whatever. And then you can tell those people that are just like, they have totally given up. They don't give a fuck. I don't care if an FPV drone comes right up my ass at this point. I'm done. And they're just walking straight ahead, you know, not trying to hide behind cover, not doing any of the typical motions that you would expect from somebody in a war zone. And a lot of that has been coming through on Telegram. Like, a lot of these people are just like, just dead man's walking towards captivity, hoping to make it through the drones and just be captured so they could have some semblance of, I don't know, life, even if it's in captivity in the Ukrainian fucking prison.
Right? One, maybe two every so often. And they're being hunted down and killed by Ukrainian drones. And when I said that their only real chance of survival is to be captured by Ukraine, is look at this footage.
Look at this.
Especially in the south, operating near Pokrovsk.
And this is the attack that I'm talking about too. Check this out. This is crazy.
I mean, at least in portions of the east, they're moving into, you know, Kupiansk. We'll show some videos in a second. At least there's some buildings there that can maybe shelter you a little bit. But down here in the Pokrovsk sector, these guys are moving across open fields and trying to take shelter in tree lines. That they don't get hit by Ukrainian drones, they're freezing to death. Hypothermia, frostbite, countless non-combat injuries. There is no place for them to warm up on the battlefield once they dismount from the Russian vehicles. In fact, we got a pretty interesting video that just came out yesterday showing, I guess we'll call it an assault buggy, an assault cargo truck of sorts. We'll play the clip right here. So this footage was released by the Ukrainian 110th Separate Mechanized Brigade. And
all right, listen to this story, listen to this setup, and then we'll listen to the conclusion of this. And then you tell me, if you were like, I don't know, a brigade commander or some sort of fucking higher up in the chain, would you not be like demanding to the highest power, to the highest authority for a change in tactics? Again, not going to happen. Not something that is happening in the Russian military. Not something that will ever happen in the Russian military. They don't give a fuck about these people. They don't give a fuck about the vehicles. They don't give a shit about anything. Right? So to send these people and to listen to what happened in this attack, and then to know that they're going to continuously do this, and this is just one of thousands, if not tens of thousands of attacks just like this that have ended the same way, that they're going to continue to repeat, that 3, 5, 10, 7 million number is not that fucking hard to fathom if this war continues long enough. Check this out. This is crazy.
There's some commentary on the Russian side saying, well, hold on a second. Maybe it's not as stupid as it looks, because that's a lot of rifles in the back that can try to shoot down a Ukrainian drone as it comes in to strike the vehicle. Maybe. I mean, this is the first one I've seen. And to be fair, it doesn't look like the vehicle gets hit on its way to drop off the soldiers. Military informant, a Russian mill blogger, and looking at this said, quote, another example of the Russian armed forces using an open-topped assault Ural buggy to deliver infantry.
This is delivering infantry to a fucking battle zone in an open-topped fucking truck, right? And again, in no way better than an armored personnel carrier, but what they'll have you believe that this is like a specialized vehicle made so that they can mount and dismount even more rapidly. Yes, but they're also in an open-top fucking vehicle in which shrapnel can hit them quite easily, even if a drone doesn't quite make direct impact with the vehicle. Like bullets, artillery, like they're out in the open, not to mention they're freezing their asses off the entire fucking ride. And by the time they get there, they already can't feel their extremities. So again, this is supposed to be like this new tactic that they're using, but it's literally just putting their men at more exposure. It's crazy.
To Ukrainian positions in the Zaporizhia direction. The vehicle is stripped of everything that could hinder the rapid dismounting of those sitting in the cabin in the cargo area, and the open top will allow those inside to provide dense fire.
Now, what do you think happens, guys? What do you think happens?
Against an approaching threat. However, in this case, the personnel can easily be hit by any means, including bullets and shrapnel. The use of such vehicles on the front line is direct consequence of the lack of a simple and cheap tracked forward edge BTR for delivering infantry.
Okay, so now they've just
and the troops.
been offloaded. So you can see here on the left, and this is all coming from Ukrainian drones. So this is not like they were sneaking into the battlefield unknown. They have been picked up since the moment they fucking sat there, fucking fat Russian asses, well, probably really skinny Russian asses, considering they're not being fed. My apologies. But since they sat there, skinny, bald Nazi fucking Russian asses on that fucking open top vehicle, they have been under the umbrella. They have been under the surveillance of the Ukrainian military. So on the right, you can see one drone picking it up, and on the left, you can see the infrared thermal imagery of them dismounting. And yeah, it didn't go well from that point on. Just didn't go well.
Infantry in groups. So we've not seen, and you know, let's play this video out for a second, because you're going to see that the vehicle doesn't appear to get hit while it's dismounting the infantry. But what are they supposed to do once they get there, right? I mean, you've got Ukrainian drones watching these guys for a while as they approach this tree line. And then, as expected, the drones start coming in. There are, just in this short clip, appear to be bomber drones dropping munitions from overhead. There's no place for these Russian soldiers to hide. FPV drones coming in.
There's nowhere for them to go. There's fucking nowhere for them to go. Look at the battlefield. Look at this. Look at this. In the woods, all over the joint. Not looking good. Not looking fucking good. You know what I mean? But what are they supposed to do? There's no cover in the tree line. The small tree line gives them absolutely no cover. They're under FPV drone. They're under bomber drone. They're under artillery strike. I mean, what do you want them to do?
Like the vehicles hit at this point. And then we've got artillery coming in, including those small little explosions you see in kind of a circular pattern. That is DPICM, or dual purpose improved conventional munition.
Yeah, those are the ones that the cluster munitions that kind of take out everything within a broad radius. I forget what the actual general radius is, but anything within that vicinity is not going to look the same as it did before, let's just say.
Munitions. So you don't want to be anywhere near that thing. For soft-skinned vehicles and dismounts in the open, that is just shredding through people left and right. So again, you've got these Russian soldiers advancing. They're getting as fast as they can from the line to anywhere forward. It's not entirely clear. I guess they were just trying to get to this specific tree line. But once they're there, what do? There's nowhere to hide, and they can't even hunker down in the trenches for long periods of time, because if they start a fire, that opens them up to more attacks from Ukrainian drones. I'll say it again. Any Russian that is attacking right now, their only chance of survival is to be captured by Ukraine.
And again, that video goes on to show quite graphically the aftermath. And of course, I'll spare you the graphic imagery of that. But one can probably assume and determine with your own imagination what that field looked like after the artillery, the bomber drones, the cluster munitions, and the rest of it were done with the Russian troops there. Just let's just say that the snow was no longer white. It was a much different color after that. So, you know, just more evidence to show that these Russians aren't learning from their tactics, aren't learning from anything, and still 4 years into this are sacrificing, if not probably more people at a more rapid rate now than they ever have been at this war. You know what I mean? I think Jake might have the most recent numbers here. Let me see if I can pull up Jake's last video, because I think he goes over the Russian tolls, the Russian numbers pretty well. Give me a second here. I'll pull it up on the screen for you. No, I just watched it, so it shouldn't be that far back. Preston, no. Breaking points, no. Ponder and politics, no. Here it is right here. I'm going to throw this on the screen for you guys. I think it's at the beginning that he usually says it, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, here we go. So here's the latest out of the, like the tolls and the numbers for Ukraine there, for Russia, in Ukraine. And you can see here, 1,235,880. I almost slipped up. I almost pulled a fucking Don Jr. on that one. But and plus another 820. We're now up to 11,609 tanks, 23,954 armored personnel carriers. Artillery systems, we're up almost to 37,000 at this point. I mean, you can just see 76,000 vehicles and fuel trucks, just astronomical fucking numbers at this point. But, you know, up to 1.23 million as far as personnel eliminated from the battlefield. So one can just assume, you know, calculate, you know, the number of lost thus far, the number of the amount of territory that they've taken. And if we're just going to hand over so much territory, you know, demand that Ukraine hands over so much territory, we could see how much energy and how much hardship and pain would be saving the Russians if they want to, you know, attain that same goal through the means that they're now undertaking, which is crazy. But seems like they've been getting some help, because here's a not so good story that I wanted to touch base on as well, because here's another Preston video. And apparently there's a U.S. company, Ubiquity, that has been aiding the Russian military. I'm not sure for how long or to what extent, so I wanted to catch up to it and dive into it with you guys. But again,
all right,
yeah,
this one's crazy.
Sorry,
what if I told you that there's an...
Let me start it over. My apologies. But yeah, this one's titled, Shocking New Report Shows U.S. Company Ubiquity Aids Russian Military. And again, with ties to an NBA owner. So this might go pretty deep depending on what comes from this story. So what do you say we dive into just the first few minutes of this? We can get a good idea of what's been going on, and then we'll discuss. All right? Appreciate you guys. Hit that like button.
American company illegally selling their technology to Russia for their military to use in the war against Ukraine. That's the bombshell report just released by Hunter Brook, alleging that Ubiquity, a $30 billion company led by Robert Pera, the owner of the NBA's Memphis Grizzlies, is, to put it bluntly, directly assisting the Russian war effort. So today we're joined by Sam Koppelman of Hunter Brook. He explains how his team went undercover, pretending to be buying this equipment for the Russian military, and how a U.S. company offered to help them bypass current sanctions.
And again, it seems like this is a lot more than just like speculation. It seems like, you know, as you'll hear from this, from the gentleman that's on with Preston, that this is like a months-long investigation where they kind of went behind the scenes and kind of tried to play up like they were this other person. And this is what they found from this.
Yeah, we can ship to Moscow too, no problem.
There's a quick 5-minute video from Hunter Brook that I'll link below that serves as a great summary for this incredible story. You'll also find in the description link to Hunter Brook's original story, their newsletter, and YouTube channel. And with that, let's get to the conversation. All right, Sam, this one's pretty wild, man. So I know you're busy. Appreciate you taking the time, but it looks like your firm just released a study yesterday alleging that an American company is selling technology into Russia that's being used in the war in Ukraine. At a high level, is that right?
That is exactly right. We spent about 6 months investigating this company, Ubiquity, which I know you're from Tennessee. Its CEO is the owner of the Memphis Grizzlies basketball team. And he's one of the richest owners in all of sports. He has a net worth of $30 billion. And it's all because of this company, Ubiquity, that most people haven't heard of, right, except the Russian armed forces, who now know Ubiquity and its devices all too well. And I'm happy to share how we broke the story, some of our key findings. But the takeaway is that there's an American company whose products are being used in Russia by the Russian military to aid in the communications necessary for their drone strikes on Ukraine.
Okay.
Which, again, would be obviously a huge fucking scandal, especially that this guy in his net worth is connected so deeply to this company, how high that net worth is, his establishment in association with the National Basketball Association, you know, the owner of the fucking Memphis Grizzlies, not to mention, you know, the laws and the federal laws that he'd be breaking if, you know, again, this investigation deems to be true. And, you know, Preston said he linked the video down below. Let's see if I can find that. Hunter Brook investigation would be this one. He said it's a quick, I think he said it's like a 5-minute video. So what do you say we dive into? Is this it? Did I get the right one? Ubiquity, the U.S. tech enables Russia's drones. Ubiquity, a $33 billion tech empire. Where's the video? Didn't he say there was like a 5-minute video? Let me see. Maybe I checked the wrong one. Spotify, YouTube, Ask. He said he linked it. Be sure to check out the full investigation here and here's the short summary here. Okay, I got it.
Crazy story. Russia's war in Ukraine relies on a huge American company whose CEO is the owner of the Memphis Grizzlies. And our reporting indicates that this company's gear has enabled crimes against humanity. Why do these Russian soldiers love the tech from the American company, Ubiquity?
Выражаем благодарность группе помощи народной милиции за предоставленные средства связи в виде антенн Ubiquiti. Нет связи, нет фронта. Старая военная мудрость актуальна как никогда.
It's actually simple, though it might not be legal. Ubiquiti's networking equipment is cheap, effective, and suspiciously available right on the front lines of the battlefield. It's part of Ubiquiti's unique and highly successful business model. High quality, easily accessible gear at affordable prices. It's a model that made its CEO a fortune so large that he became the youngest owner in the history of the NBA. But that same model has led to what we believe is tens of thousands of Ubiquiti devices ending up in Russia since the start of the war in Ukraine. Our sources on this range from troops on the front lines to open source intelligence to conversations directly with Ubiquiti suppliers. As Russian forces continue their assault on Ukraine, Ubiquiti's devices serve Russian combat troops critical networking needs, including potentially enabling precision kamikaze drone attacks against Ukraine's civilians.
То есть, например, расчет FPV, он не может работать без аэророзведки, потому что это будет полет, вслепую.
The UN has called some of these attacks crimes against humanity. And critically, sources told us that there are no viable alternatives to Ubiquiti.
По вашим предположениям,
Я думаю, что это даже десятки, могут быть тысячи. Будем так же говорить, нет альтернатив.
While Elon Musk's Starlink devices are remotely shut off in Russia, Ubiquiti products apparently work just fine. They're plug and play. We actually
and again,
tested
if they're so dependent on these things, if they have so many of them in use, just think of the effectiveness. Just think of how fucking damaging it would be to the frontline soldiers, to their ability to communicate if this wasn't taking place, if we fucking cracked down on this and somehow made it absolutely impossible for the Russians to get their hands on this fucking American fucking company's equipment, right? If they have no alternatives, that would be a huge fucking benefit to Ukraine. If the fucking Russian soldiers couldn't communicate with one another, if they didn't have any other viable options to have, that would be a huge benefit. And again, not to mention the size of the scandal and the laws that he'd be breaking, this company, by allowing the Russian military, again, had they fucking know, and I'm sure if you dive a little bit deeper into this, they give good information and good accounting for them to have no plausible deniability to say that they didn't know about it, right? It's crazy. I mean, it's fucking crazy at this stage of the war, like I said, to still have this be going. I mean, remember when we heard, like he just mentioned, the Elon Musk and the Starlink, when he was supposedly shutting it off and turning it back on over Ukraine because he was trying to stop World War III in his own right, whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? It's like, well, how a lot of people were talking about how like Coca-Cola and a lot of these other fucking food and beverage products were kind of skirting the sanctions and were still being fucking bought, but just under different labels and different cans in Russia. So let's just think what the scandal would be for a company to be literally providing the Russian military with communications equipment that has now allowed them to enact war crimes against humanity against the Ukrainian military and the Ukrainian citizens. I think that's something that maybe should be probably talked about, investigated, right? And it shouldn't be up to this, YouTube channel, whatever this company is, and no slight to them, but a company, Hunter Brook, with 2.35 thousand subscribers, it shouldn't be left up to them. Like somebody else in this fucking government should have been onto this a long fucking time ago, unless they got their little grubby hands dipped into this little fucking cash cow themselves. You know what I mean?
How easily Russians could obtain Ubiquiti devices by contacting a bunch of their suppliers and asking them to send equipment to the front lines of the war. We spoke to nearly a dozen vendors in Russia, including some who claimed to be official Ubiquiti suppliers. Not only did they promise to get us the Ubiquiti gear in as short as a week, but they actually sent us thank you letters that they said were sent to them by the Russian military. The war in Ukraine is also heavily crowdfunded, so we looked on Telegram and found lots of social media posts from Russian troops thanking people, asking them for Ubiquiti devices to use. This wasn't supposed to happen. After Russia invaded Ukraine, the US enacted sanctions and export bans with the purpose of blocking Russian access to tools like these. But Ubiquiti relies almost exclusively on hundreds of third-party distributors for sales, rather than its own sales force. And Hunter Brook found that these third-party distributors have been supplying millions of dollars worth of prohibited Ubiquiti goods to Russia, likely in violation of US export and sanctions laws, often through third countries like Turkey or Kazakhstan, with the goal of obscuring these trade routes.
And again, this is the same way that Russia's trying to skirt around the oil sanctions by using their fucking shadow fleet, right? This is no different than that. It's crazy, and I'd like to see what the fuck comes from this now that this is being more publicly talked about. Maybe something will come from this. I'm not fucking really I'm not really hopeful that with this government and everything that we know about them and the people now in charge that something would come from this. But, hopefully somebody with some fucking sanity in mind, hopefully the Democrats or somebody on the fucking, some committee that has sway over this can look into this, because this is fucking crazy. And again, if we can have that much impact, if we take this ability away from the Russian military, then the Ukrainians would want to have this and see this done just as much as anybody else. So, the more that we can highlight this and promote this story and get it out there and have some fucking change come from this, all the better. I'd be more than fucking happy. And that's probably a good time to relay everybody this message as well. I just want to thank everybody once again for bringing us even closer to our goal. We're now up to 60 donations. We're now up over 6,000 euros, 6,290 euros raised. 30% of our goal is now hit. We are on our way to now hitting 40 and 50. It's going to be incredible when we do this together, guys. You're going to feel so great about yourselves when you get to see the video of the vehicle being delivered itself and them thanking you and you specifically for your contributions. Not only just your contributions, but anybody that shared this out, anybody that puts this on social media, anybody that shows this to your friends, your family, your coworkers and says, hey, do you have $10 to donate? Go to a good cause to make sure that, Ukrainian people, Ukrainian military members on the front lines have a vehicle, have wheels, have some semblance of safety to get them from point A to point B on the front lines. And then once we finish this, we'll get another one going, and then who knows how many people we can help save. Again, it's going to be a good thing, and I appreciate you guys for getting us this far. It's amazing that we could raise that much as a channel of the size that we are. It is incredible to have 60 different donations already. So again, you can go to help.co/patches/Boston Brian to go there. I'm sure our great and wonderful mods will have that in the chat. But yes, this is another. You can go to help99.co/patches/Boston Brian. And again, donate a $5, a $10, whatever you got. You can get a fantastic patch. There are some different things that you get depending on how much you donate as well. So again, I love my patch that I got here. This thing is just fantastic. The 69 Sniffing Brigade. We got the In Dog We Trust. We got the Boston on there with a glass of beer for the soldiers that I am toasting to them. We got the World War II aspect in there with the new war aspect. We got new tanks, old planes and new planes. Of course, the Ukrainian symbol on there. So I think that's one of the better ones on the site, if I do say so myself. But there it is. There you go, right there. Look at that thing. Look at that thing. I find that to be one of the better patches. I mean, who wouldn't want to wear that? That just you got the Red Sox on there. Let's fucking go. Let's fucking go. All right. So I do appreciate you guys. Let's get into thanking some of you individuals. We might be a couple minutes early. Let me dive into. Was there anything going on still with the vigil? No, it's all over. All right, we'll have to pick up some highlights tomorrow from that. We'll see if we can dive into a few more instances and a few more stories and a few more speakers from that vigil for Alex Preddy there. But yeah, so we've gone over a lot tonight. We've talking about Donald Trump's threats against Iran that we should be looking at now, kind of with the same rhetoric he had with Maduro in Venezuela, with the, we got an armada on top of fucking, the whole 9 yards, and we got to be watching that closely. Obviously, the the dissension in the ranks of ICE is something that we need to keep our eye on, and obviously the infighting between Stephen Miller, Kristi Noem, and Corey Lewandowski, and obviously the Republicans now joining Democrats and calling for the firing of Kristi Noem because of her incompetence. So yeah, a lot to go over, a lot to discuss as we got through tonight. I really do appreciate you guys. What do you say we get into thanking some of the fine people on Venmo that were able to send a buck or two? Of course, that Venmo just above my head in the corner here. If you send a buck or two over, buy me a Powerade. That's all I ask for. It goes a long way in helping support the community. Again, we hide nothing behind a paywall here. We don't charge for the Substack. We don't have any ads that we run. We don't have any sponsors of the show that will lead us astray and don't like like and can tell us that they don't like what we're talking about. Everything is 100% free. You can always watch all of the content that I'm putting out on any one of the social media platforms that I'm on. And again, just to kind of reiterate those social media platforms, here they are right here in case you want to follow me in all these, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, Blue Sky, Facebook, TikTok, Threads, Substack, all of them. Hit me up. At Boston Brian on a lot of them, at Boston Brian Live on Twitch, at Blunt Politics on Facebook, Dem Boston Brian on TikTok, Boston Brian 23 elsewhere. So hit me up, guys. I'm everywhere and nowhere at the same time. So it's only with your help that we'll continue to grow this community. I appreciate you guys. Let's say we start thanking some people that were contributing to the show today, because you kept this show running as you always do. I appreciate you to the end of the earth. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Christopher. Thank you, Kimberly. Really do appreciate you guys. Thank you, Christopher and Nancy, again, for your contributions earlier in the day, too. So you guys have been fantastic. Let's go back a couple days. Thomas and Victoria, Roger, Moms, Roxanne, Suzanne, Jenny Faye, all of you guys. I appreciate you. Esther, Thomas, Jake, Yakov, appreciate you, my brother. Thank you to everybody that's reached out there. Everybody on, Jennifer, I see you in there. I see you sneaking one past me. A Coke for you and a beer for Pops. Oh, I appreciate that. How awesome is that? I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I can't thank you enough. Let's hop over here onto the fabulous tubes of you and the people that contributed over here. Kicked off with by Bobby Slacks. Let's go, Slacks, you fucking devil, you dog, you. I appreciate you, brother. Heroyam Slava to you, right back at you. And thank you so much for sharing the show and listening in the background. Appreciate you, my brother. Thank you for your contributions, as always. Thank you, Allie, for the 5. Philly is looking at temp and perm art for Independence Mall. We are suing. They are holding our tribute to the enslaved in the Constitution Center. I'm sorry. I'm not 100% following on that one. I do appreciate very much the contribution, but I'll have to kind of look up a little further what that is all about. So I'm kind of missing the point on that one. My apologies, Allie, but thank you so much for your continued support. See you always in there in the chat, and I can't thank you enough. Thank you, Yvonne. Big night for Yvonne. Boston Brian Ice and Border Patrol are using LRAD long-range acoustic device, which can cause tinnitus, ruptured eardrums, vertigo, and balance problems, migraine, nausea, panic responses. Yeah, I guess that's kind of the purpose, though, right? And again, not something new to say the least, but yeah, the fact that they're now using that. I did see a clip of that. I don't know how much or widely it's being used, but just the fact that they're using new tactics isn't a surprise. They're going to try to do anything and everything in order to quell the kind of what they're deeming as this organized rebellion that they're now fucking calling it, which is ridiculous, but definitely something to be aware about. If you're out there protesting, bring the proper ear protection if they make it. I'm not sure they do for that one, but just be prepared in that regard too for anything and everything they may pull out of the bag of tricks. So Yvonne, thank you so much for keeping us up to speed and up to date, keeping everybody informed. Lakeview, what's going on, Lakeview? Appreciate you for becoming a new YouTube member. Thank you so much. Hope you're finding a good space there in the chat. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're coming back again. So thank you very much for becoming a YouTube member. Thank you, Yvonne, for the 20 gifted memberships. Just an unbelievable contribution. I appreciate you, Yvonne, so much. I really do. From across the pond, from across the way. It's a long way to send those 20 gifted memberships, but I do appreciate you for doing it. Thank you, dear. Thank you, Ricky, for the 10 gifted memberships. Unbelievable, you guys. I really can't thank you enough. Thank you, Ricky, for the 10 gifted. Make sure we're reaching out to both Yvonne and Ricky and everybody else that's contributing to the show, and make sure we're thanking them for their contributions. Thank you, Mark, as well. Puppy Killer Gnome should be held accountable. Absolutely. Should the rest of these assholes and criminals should be as well. Boston Brian, I've sent you an email with Christy Turtleneck Gnome without all her makeup on. It is truly the stuff of nightmares. Come on. We can't play that on the night show. I'm going to fucking what? You're going to keep everybody up all night. Nobody's going to get sleep. Everybody's going to be groggy for tomorrow. People are going to be pissed off at work, and they're going to blame me on Blunt Politics for the fucking horrendous and hideous vision and graphic image of Christy Gnome without fucking her makeup on. So maybe we'll play that on a day show where people are a little bit more aware, got their wits about them, and I don't want to do the jump scare like that. Come on, Yvonne. Come on. I appreciate you, though. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mark, as well, for the 2. Just a reminder, release all the Epstein files. Amen. And I second that, as well as the chat does. Thank you, Candy, for Brian, one of the few men my middle-aged crabby ass enjoys listening to. Bravo. Sorry, I got a kick out of that one. I appreciate that, Candy. Thank you so much. I appreciate the 20. Thank you. I love that one. Thank you, Just Saying, for the gifted membership. Always, I appreciate it so much. Please make sure, again, we're reaching out to these people, all of the people that are gifted in the chat there, keeping this show running. So Just Saying, thank you to you. Thank you, Tony. Go Pats, F Ice. What a message that is. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't back that one up more. Couldn't second that one anymore. T, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you to Bicycle Mike. What's up, my man? Hope you're feeling well. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're getting the care and the, I don't know, I guess the care you deserve is where I was going with that one. But thank you for, what did you say, Alex Petty Memorial Bike Ride nationwide on Saturday. Oh, that's good. That's a good one. That's a good one. Appreciate you bringing that to our attention as well. Very much appreciate that. And again, hope you're well, brother. Good to see you in the chat. Oh, thank you, Yvonne. Again, another 20 gifted. Jesus Christ, your arm's going to be really tired tomorrow throwing all these gifted memberships across the pond. Huh? You're going to have to ice that arm. We're going to have to go to the bullpen soon. I'm busting your chops. I appreciate you, Yvonne, so much. I really do. Thank you for the 20 gifted. Another 20 fabulous members of this chat that get another membership for another month. So thank you, Yvonne. Make sure we're reaching out to Yvonne once more and thanking her. George Daly, what's up, brother? Appreciate you. Thank you for the 5. Thank you for being here in the chat. Thank you for coming back for time and time again. Good to see you in there. Thank you, JD, for the $1.49. Put that right in the swear jar. Be sure to. Thank you, Jenny Faye. Once again, tell Pops we want a wave on the next Zoom. I tried getting him on the show. I don't know if he's too inclined to be on camera, but maybe the Zoom will be a good place to start him off at. He's watching now. He's probably going to argue with me in the chat. So see if you can coerce him in the chat in there. If enough people say you want him to pop on cam, I'm sure we'll probably get him to do it at some point. So I appreciate you, Jenny Faye. Thank you so much. And then to round it out tonight, Yvonne, again, just an incredible night from you. Boston Brian, what do you mean? Come on, you should know me by now. That's true. That's true. That's true. What should I expect? Nothing less. You keep me well entertained, well informed, and I appreciate you for it. I thank you very much, and I'll get you guys out of here a little bit early tonight. Thank you for sticking with me. Never a bad thing to get out of here early, especially on the night shows. But lots to cover for tomorrow. I'm sure there'll be no shortage of news from now till then for us to cover and discuss. If not, we can dive back into more of this stuff because none of it is, none of it can be over discussed. Let's just put it. A lot of it is quite important, as you guys all know. And the more we discuss it, the more informed we get, the more intelligent we stay, the better off we will all be. So I appreciate you guys. Make sure you guys are staying loud, stay proud, stay aggressive out there. Don't back down. Fuck ICE. Fuck Donald Trump. Fuck Russia. Fuck Putin. Slava Ukraine. I love you guys. I'll see you guys next time on the Blunt Politics. Yeah, the Blunt Politics. That's always a good name for a podcast. They don't typically say politics twice in that regard, but again, I can speak. I promise I can speak. So thank you again for watching the Blunt Politics podcast, and I'll see you tomorrow for the Thursday show. Again, that's going to be 2 p.m. Eastern. That is 11 a.m. on the East Coast. I'm all fucked up again. I appreciate you guys. I'll see you later. Thank you to the mods. I appreciate you as always for everything that you guys do and keeping that chat a safe place. I appreciate the Blunt Politics crew and all of the people that make up the best chat on social media here in Blunt Politics. So thank you for helping me get towards 20K on the subscriber base here on YouTube. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right? Be good. Enjoy your night. Thank you, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. I appreciate you guys. Later. Is the song doubled up, or does it sound better? Let me know.
It feels so lovely to be here tonight. What a beautiful night. Give yourself a round of applause. You're so lovely. Everyone's so lovely.
I'm just candy. I got a bowl of chocolate pudding in my underpants.
Refer to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small.
He's calling me Little Marco. And I'll admit, the guy, he's taller than me. He's like 6'2", which is why I don't understand why his hands are the size of someone who's 5'2".
All right, so it's not doubled up. That's always a good thing. I appreciate you guys for letting me know. So if it's not doubled up, what do you say we go back to an OG? Now, none of the information on this is going to be right. All the dates are going to be wrong, but fuck it. Let's go back to the OG. I think you guys are going to like this one for everybody still sticking around. Let's hit them with the OG, all right? I'm on
We're a nation that just recently heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat.
He says rectum damn near killed him. Yesterday's a hard word for me. The big, fat, sloppy United States.